Well, good day, everybody. My name is Kevin Ross. I'm the founding chairman of First Washington, and this is a tutorial on using Onshape Teams as a member of a team. This is a part of a series of tutorials that are aimed at helping First teams make good use of Onshape and all of its features. This is specifically targeted to students who are going to be members of a team, and I just wanted to show you around a few things. We're going to show you how to get, when you log into Onshape, I want to make sure that you know how to find your team directory and what to do if you don't find it. I'm going to give you a brief tour of what your team directory should look like. We're going to create a document and talk about where to put things in your team directory. We're going to talk about about how to use libraries and where to find them. And then we'll talk a little bit about managing files that you might be creating and how you can deal with those. And then I want to touch on the Learning Center in Onshape, which has really good tutorials on how to actually run the program and do the CAD work. Okay, I have just logged into Onshape by going to onshape.com and entering my password and such. And you can see that in the root directory, I only have one file because I'm a brand new student in this scenario. I would like to point out that over here on the left, you'll find a folder that says Teams. If you don't find that folder, you may not have been added as part of your team yet, and you should contact your mentor or whoever is the administrator of the team to have them add you. You'll need to give them the email address that you are using here on Onshape. So if I spin this down, you'll see that these are all of the folders that have been shared with Team Woody. So you can actually go into these and see the file structure. And so here is a brief tour of what these things are. There are two kinds of we'll call them files or documents. There are folders and documents. And the upper part of this is showing you all of the folders in the team directory, and then the lower part is showing you the documents. A document in this case is an Onshape document, and that will contain all of the drawings, parts, and assemblies for your robot. Okay. In the folder section, there's a folder called the trash folder. And that's where you're going to move things when you're done with them, or you would like to have them be deleted. There may or may not be a folder for your specific team. Turns out I have several FTC teams, so I have created a folder for each one of those teams. The other thing you should find is a team library. And a team library, if I click on this, has a set of documents that act as library documents that you can go and find parts that already exist. Things like, motors and brackets and pulleys. What is in your specific library for your team? I do not know, because that depends on how your team sets it up. But the idea is that if you're looking to insert something, that is where you go look. Okay. So I'm going to go back up one level to Team Woody, and let's go into Team 7759. And you can see there are no documents or folders in this here yet. So we're going to create one. You do a create document, and you can give it a name. And I'm going to call it Robot by Kevin. Here is Robot by Kevin, the file. And I'm just going to actually ignore the CAD part of this for right now. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go back up one level by hitting the back button. And now you can see there's now a document in the folder FTC 7759, and that's my document. I do want to point out that it'll tell you who was the last one to modify it. The me is always means that your account modified it. Okay, it's owned by Mentor Kevin, and Mentor Kevin is the one who created the Team Woody shared folder. All the documents in here are actually owned by whoever created that folder. So that's something you need to get a little bit used to. Things that I can do with this, if I left click this and and it'll turn blue. I just clicked it once. And if I right click it, it will show me all of the things that I can do with this. I can open it. I can rename the document by clicking that. I can say, how about that? So I just renamed the file. You can do that. In fact, you can rename any of the files here. You can copy this file. And so I can, it's called a copy workspace. If I make a copy of it, it will just generate a complete new version of that file, copy all of the contents over. So now I'm going to go back out of this. I'm going to go deal with the copy for a sec. I can right click it. And again, you can see, but you'll notice there's no way for me to delete a file. There's only a move to function. And again, the only people who can delete files are the owners of the files. If you create a turd file and you need to get rid of it, or if you're done with a file and you are certain it needs to go away, I'm going to actually do a move to, and I'm going to go up into the Team Woody and I'm going to move it to the trash directory, or trash folder, I'm sorry, trash folder. And there, I've just moved that to the trash folder. And we can go verify that by clicking on Team Woody and going into trash. And you can see there it is. Now, if I screwed up and didn't really want to move it to the trash folder, you can just come in here, right click on it again and move it back to where you wanted it to go. Okay. So now we've seen how you create a document, how you can copy a document, how you can move a document, and more specifically, how you can move it into the trash folder when you're done with it. Let's talk about libraries. If you're going to look for something to insert, usually a good place to start is your team's library. I have a couple of very small sample libraries in here. Some libraries get very large and complex, and sometimes it takes a little work to find things. But if you start out by putting it in a known spot, that's a good step. I'm going to go back to 7759, and I'm going to open Robot for Kevin. Now, inside a document, this is an Onshape document, there are kind of two main things that you deal with. There are assemblies and there are part studios. And right now we're going to click on the assembly down here. We're going to insert a couple of parts. So I'm going to go insert. Now I can insert things from my current document. There's nothing here yet, so it doesn't show anything. I can also insert what's called standard content. This is where you go find bolts and screws and some other stuff. And then other documents is where I would go to find things like wheels from a company or other parts. So you can go exploring by clicking on your Team Woody, and you need to drill down to find your team library. And so let's insert a Andy Mark Never Rest 20 motors. I'm going to click on this. When you click on one of the library files, you may get a representation like this, which it'll list part studios and it'll list assemblies. And depending on what it is that you're trying to insert, you may need to pick one or the other. Turns out I don't see a Never Rest 20 motor here, so I'm immediately going to go look in assemblies, and here it is. So it's actually an assembly rather than a part. So I'm going to click on that, and I should end up getting an Andy Mark Never Rest 20 gearhead motor. And I can pick multiple things. Hey, we can do here's an Omni wheel. There we go, we'll put that there. So now I'll be able to assemble these eventually, right? I can also back up one level, and I can go into, for example, the extrusions library. And there are no assemblies in here, so I'm gonna click on the Part Studio. Remember, you need to kind of poke around a little bit sometimes to find stuff, okay? And here's a joining plate that I might like to use, okay? And then when I'm done, I'm gonna hit this green check mark. I was able to find my libraries by going to my team library. You might notice I didn't tell you anything about how to draw or anything how to assemble stuff. The last thing I want to show you is where to go learn that stuff. Onshape has done an amazingly good job at putting together great video tutorials with samples for you to play with. I think they've done an exemplary job, and there's no reason for us to duplicate that, honestly. So to learn things, when you log into your account, up near the upper right hand side here is the Learning Center. And so if you click on the Learning Center, the thing that you're looking for is under self-paced courses. Just click on all self-paced courses. They have some stuff about CAD basics, and that's a great place to start. It's a nice overview. I think it's the right place to start. Introduction to assembly design, introduction to part design. Those are the two that you should probably start with. 2D drawings and the parametric feature-based CAD are very, very useful, but I think that's probably too early in your learning to nail those just yet. And then if you look on Onshape Fundamentals is the next section, and it has all sorts of very nicely done tutorials on how to do various things. So this is really the best place to learn. There's the two best ways for you to learn are to do the tutorials and then try stuff. If I click on this Onshape up here in the upper left, right next to the name of the document, it'll take me back to the root, or it'll take me back to the file list. And if I come up and click on my Onshape, this is the root of my folder. And so I can create documents here. If you're going to create your own learning document, this is probably a great place to put it. Okay, but these sort of test documents or these sort of learning documents are best done by putting them in the root of your Onshape directory or Onshape folder, or creating your own folder. Okay, don't populate your Teams folder with your learning stuff. And you can, if you'd like, create your own folder called Learning Stuff. And I apologize, I just created a document, but that's okay. Watch this. Back to my Onshape. So I created a document called Learning Stuff. That isn't what I intended to do. Great example, learn by doing. So I don't want this anymore. Now, it turns out it's owned by me, and therefore on this one, when I right click it, you can see that there's a send to trash down here at the bottom. And what that's going to do is it's going to send this file over here to this trash folder on the left side. So here, I'm going to do that. Send to trash. Okay. So I have sent that to this user's trash folder. If you screwed up and didn't want to do that, you can click on here and you can actually right click on it and hit restore, and it will send it back to your Onshape directory. So that's kind of how you manage that. And the only reason you're able to do that is because it is owned by me. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time because I actually did want to get rid of it, and I intended to create myself a folder called Learning Stuff. And so now I have my own folder called Learning Stuff, and I can move this file or this document using move to. I can move it to Learning Stuff. Now it also turns out, I'm not going to do that right now. It also turns out that I can actually left click and drag this thing up to Learning Stuff, and that'll move things around as well. If you're looking for a faster way of doing things. All right. So now you can see that Learning Stuff has my test document. It is my folder and stuff. If I go back over to Teams up here and I click on Team Woody, you'll notice that Learning Stuff isn't there because it's not shared with Team Woody. It's not a file for Team Woody. Okay. So your Onshape directory can tend to get a little bit on the messy side, especially if you're importing a lot of files. Up to you to keep it clean. Okay. How to get started with a team, where to find stuff, where to find the Learning Center where you're going to actually learn how to do things, and then a little bit about how to manage your own files in your own folder. Your own folder is here when you click on My Onshape. That's where stuff is. That's probably enough for now. Best of luck. We'll talk to you later.